Hello, welcome to Dr. Akmal Makhdum's YouTube channel. Today we're going to be discussing media regarding coronavirus, but coronavirus and what else? By that I mean all we're seeing in the news these days is corona this, corona that. And in the last video you mentioned, Dr. Akmal, that um, it's a daily number game. There's no plan, there's no outline. So I would discuss a little bit of the role of the media. So, taking this conversation further, what would you say to the statements that I've just made?
I think it is very important to link this whole thing together. It is a very interesting human experience and a unique one at that. But I would say a very necessary one. We have all come to a halt, and Providence, God, the world has made sure that there is time to think and reflect. Now, the question is, have we learned anything from what has happened in the past 500 years of our history? How we have moved in terms of technology, how our humanity has progressed. Has the world become a happier place? Has all this money that is generated provided greater freedoms, greater liberty, greater health, and opportunity to humanity at large? Is Africa, which is full of riches, the richest continent in the world, is it all rich and flourishing, etc.? So if we look at that, this is the time to look at it, because I don't think that in our lifetime, if we survive this, there will be another opportunity to look at it. And you remember we talked of Martin Heidegger in our recent discussion. And I think it is very important to see, where do we go from here? We have a finite life in this world. Corona has brought us to a stage where we are trying to deal with this existential threat. Where do we go from here? And here is an opportunity to look at the future, not only the physical future, but the holistic future of humanity, the future which we would all aspire to be, because previously in the last 50 to 100 years we have not really reflected on the philosophy of life.
Okay, so then how does this tie in with media and their role?
The thing is that media is going to be the key trigger, or can be the key player, in bringing this discussion to the fore, to the fore of everybody's attention and focus. At this particular moment in time, you open the television or radio or newspapers or whatever, you are confronted with numbers. And so many people have died, and this has happened, and NHS is doing a great job, and XY is doing a great job. So it is all immediate, it is all
Day to day.
1 minute ahead or 10 minutes behind. So we are constantly looking down and around and constantly apprehensive. The thing is that all those who are going to deal with it, in terms of prevention, in terms of managing the illness and managing the very sick, have to do their own job. But I feel that philosophical leadership, social leadership, political leadership, here is an opportunity for them to regrow and rethink mankind's future.
Okay, so you mentioned we discussed this in earlier, in our beginning episodes. And I remember one of them, you were very hopeful that this would be a time where maybe we would reflect and grow and become more unified. And one of our viewers, one of my friends from France, mentioned that he found it very hopeful. He himself didn't have the same outlook as you and thought it was maybe too positive.
Yeah.
As time goes on, I'm tending to agree with him, because I mean, now the way I look at the news, it, I don't see any reflection.
Mhm.
People are now starting to get agitated. People are calling the police on their neighbors. People are getting upset if someone's putting something wrong in their trolley. We're not going in the right direction, in my opinion.
Yes, we are not going in the right direction because we have been brought up wrong. Whole mankind at this particular moment has been brought up with greed. The only thing, and as we were talking, we are objects. We are human resource. We are natural resource. We are, green is to create oxygen. I am to deliver a service. You have to have a social capital. So you are all being used as fodder for somebody to chew and consume. Now, if you have been brought up like that, of course you will call the police on your neighbor because that is what you've always done. And of course you will get upset if you have put something in the trolley. But what I was saying is that you will never ever again in this finite life get this opportunity to design a future which is more human and more humane. And that is what is hopeful about it. Because previously, the way things were, the powerful was constantly, becoming the parasite of this world and was constantly sucking all the energy and life out of the weak and out of this earth. Here is an opportunity where we should be looking at what our medium to longer term policies are going to be.
Okay, so you made a very interesting point that the rich and powerful, are, but there's other ones that tend to control the media.
Yeah.
So they're the ones. So how do we as individuals?
Okay, I mean, I think when you are, and that is, we were talking, in the last one, discussion about the finite time, confronting death, spending time in the graveyard, and, looking at what you really are in terms of your call of conscience. I would say that Prime Minister of Britain, Boris Johnson, experienced near death. He could have as easily have died as easily as he has survived. Now, he says that he owes his life to the NHS. He owes his life to the philosophy of care, regardless of color, caste, and creed, by people who belong to different colors, castes, and creeds, by people who have laid down their lives regardless of color, caste, and creed. Now, if there is no transformation in him, obviously there's going to be something wrong with this whole upbringing of this generations of the current so-called humans.
Okay, so then how does the media play their role in this, and how do we hold them accountable when we're
Now,
locked in our homes?
I think that this is how we should start talking about it. That, okay, it is fine, you've told us that the coronavirus is going to kill or is killing and so on. These are the precautions. Until a remedy is found, of course, the media is not going to find the remedy, or the media is not going to fund the remedy, but the media is able to provide the socio-psychological and the holistic view of this world. They should project when they show these graphs and things that if it spreads like that, by the trajectory goes like that, it is going to be 250,000. But if the trajectory goes like that, it will be 120,000. And if the trajectory goes like that, it will be 20,000. But why can there be not a futuristic trajectory or a series of trajectories created that if we now move from spending so much wealth on X venture into a Y venture, and then transform the humanity into something. Now, I was looking at these numbers that the wealth, the United States of America, has allocated $2.2 trillion. I mean, the zeros are like an arm's length. Now the point is that what that 2.2 trillion can do to alleviate poverty. I'm not saying that exactly 2.2, but the next 2.2. What that 2.2, the third 2.2 trillion can do to education. What can that 2.2 trillion do to the rest? The European Bank has allocated 881 billion euros
Okay.
to support. So I would say that these are the things that we need to be looking at.
Okay, and so that my other point in my opening statement was that there are other things happening too. I'm not trying to minimize the severity of corona, but politics, policies, other things, wars, like you said, starvation. These things haven't stopped since corona. There's homeless people, all these things. But when I open, the front, let's look at the news. I'm just going to throw up a few. Coronavirus. Britain warned to prepare for up to 6 waves of COVID-19 in the next however many months. That's Sky News. Independent. Coronavirus. Government launches vaccine task force of fresh waves of outbreak. Tesco as the Lidl urgently recall food items. Then BBC actually said climate change, US mega drought already underway. Then coffee shops are reopening. Rishi Sunak is, talking. Well, there's a few tight headings with the Brexit. It is what it's called. It's apologies, I couldn't think of the word. The headlines are overpowered with the coronavirus. I mean, isn't that wrong? Isn't that just kind of putting people in a weird psychological state?
But that's natural. I would say that we should use the same simple formula: the short term, the medium term, and the long term. What we've seen in the past is that there are lots of things that we have done wrong. Now we are looking at a pandemic that can wipe out, chunks of population as it is wiping out chunks of population. God forbid if there are 6 waves going to come of COVID-19 or 20 or whatever, then of course loss of life and economy are going to be, losses are going to be huge. But that should be a one-dimensional thinking that somebody needs to deal with corona. So there's a task force, money allocated, due precautions to be taken, social responsibility, clinical responsibility, and preventative responsibility. But then there needs to be another dimension of where society will be heading. So if we go on the way we had been going on, obviously we will be facing the same problems. Money and wealth and so-called happiness because of wealth will be focused on only, in a handful, the 1% or 3%.
Well, that's the thing. What they're saying with the economy is being so affected, people are going to be homeless. They're going to be, they're going to be unemployed. Record numbers. Businesses are failing. So that's the thing. That they're giving us these facts, but then there is no. Well, there is hope at the end of this. Maybe if we change the system, maybe if we give. There's no creative thinking.
That is the point. So because it is easy for us to just carry on doing the same thing. And people in power are the same ones who had been the beneficiaries of the previous exploitative system, which has actually led us to this stage. I would say that there needs to be, and that is why the same people made the choices and decisions the way they did. So some leaders didn't make the right choices at the right time. Because of the same worry that they had of the past, of wealth, money, capital. So now we know that this particular system, if confronted with the corona-like pandemic, will collapse within 2-3 months. The finances will collapse because it is all part of a chance stock market shooting up depending on one rumor or the other. So the point is, it is all a gamble. So are we going to again create an environment, a social environment, a socio-economic environment where our lives are actually part of a gamble?
Okay.
So that is where I would say, I'm no economist, but I think there is a need for the economists to be thinking that should we be now relying on the fluctuating stock markets? Should we be relying on the previous capitalist system so much? Because that system is clearly failing.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, where are the systems which are working, where there is equality of opportunity in getting health? In England, in Germany, these are the places where people are granted all this help without any discrimination. So I think that is where we need to be now thinking of what kind of society we want.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And if you like the video, please subscribe and share it. And if you have any thoughts, please do write to us. Thank you so much.